Oh, yeah. Bless and love, my lords. Welcome to another live chat with Red Lion. Today we have the pleasure to host on our show Bitbuzz, aka Steve, the whale that has been buying your art, a great art patron and an absolute gentleman. Thank you so much for coming into the show, man.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's always good to chat to like-minded people.
When I started the Gazette, and even before I started with our project, um, you were buying my art even before you were buying our art. So I want to thank you so much, man, and it has been. I will be forever grateful to you for that. So thank you so much.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, at the time it was pretty cool. Actually, I was buying art, not
Hmm.
knowing if other people were like, if it would ever kind of sell. I was telling other people, and they're like, "What do you do with it?" I was like, "Nothing. It's just wicked art. It's got like these cool themes in it." And then eventually, like, it started selling, and I was like, "Wow, there's other people want this. Like, I'm not crazy for buying this in the first place. There's other people. There is a demand for this stuff." And at the time, I mean, I still remember buying one of a lot of money's pieces, and I think I paid like 3.5 ETH for it, which is one of the more expensive pieces I'd ever bought at the time. And then it resold very quickly after, like within about 3 or 4 weeks, it sold for 9 ETH. And at that time, that was his highest piece he had ever sold. I remember he messaged me and he's like, "Could you imagine this piece ever selling for 9 ETH?" When like I thought 3.5 was crazy. And I was like, "No doubt." And then you'd see like him and Trevor Jones's piece went for like 110 ETH, maybe like a year later. So the market's like crazy, but those early days finding art, and I was like, "Fuck, this is nice," and I just pick it up because I liked it. Didn't really, I never considered really flipping them most of the cases. And when I saw your magazines, I've just been a magazine lover and collector all my life, of like Time and just other issues of like Popular Mechanics with the first Altair computer on it. I like comics and shit like that. So when I saw yours, I was like, nice, someone's actually doing a digital magazine. And I think I have issues 1 to 9, but I'm pretty sure someone bought number 7.
Oh
So
my God, you have all my issues, all the bad
oh,
art.
totally. And you know what's awesome? Some of them you burned. So I
I
believe
am
some of
burning
the
them. I
issues.
am burning them because we are migrating them. We launched a new contract because that was on the Rarible general contract,
Yes.
where I launched it. Well, the general knowledge about NFTs was like super low at the time, and the infrastructure was not there, right? So I did the same mistakes as every artist that was starting. So I started minting it on the general Rarible contract. And then around on issue 5, actually, we said, yeah, we will migrate it. So these previous 4 issues, while it's still early, within the first month, you can migrate them. You send them to me or you burn them. I check and then I send the new one.
Okay, nice.
And I pre-minted all the supply of those issues, and I have them in my wallet. So the date was like back then. So the one that I'm sending you has a mint date of back then.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would want. So yeah, at some point in time, I will definitely engage with you and do that for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. I think there are a few hardcore hodlers that refuse to migrate, like yourself and Nate Alex,
Nice.
the purists, right?
No doubt. I like leaving things the way they were, but again, if it's like kind of going to be mandatory or that's where like the rest of the market is, I don't mind taking part in that, especially with the amount of volumes that I've got. But I love those because to me, that was the first virtual NFT magazine that I know exists. And I just, when I saw it, I was like, fucking nice, someone did this. And I think I reached out to you. And I know you told me kind of some background about you, which I was like, wow, I would have never guessed that was kind of your history, which is very cool. And then I think I had said, like, do you want to work together? And you're like, actually, I'm doing this other project. And when I
Yeah,
saw it, I was like, nice, I'm actually happy you declined me. So this project exists. So
yeah.
that was a good decision.
Yeah, man. When I saw your message, I was like, man, I really don't want to turn it down, but like, there is no way I could do this. So I choose to be very transparent and speak my mind about it. But like, if I wasn't with Redline, I would 100% join you
Nice.
at
Yeah,
the
no, and
time.
I understood. I understood fully at the time, and I'm very happy that you put this out there and at least like set the stage where others after you, at least on chain. As far as I know, like literally, you could always claim that you were the first.
Yeah, it's not about that anymore, but it's for me. It's more important if people actually, look at the art and the work and appreciate it for what it is. Because there is nobody else that does this, not only at that level, but also with the same depth and respect that we are doing. So I hope for me success will be when people care about it.
Nice. I appreciated the airdrops because I remember after a couple of issues, we'd get airdrops here and there if we were holding
Yeah,
certain
bro, that
positions,
is
which
how
was
the
cool.
that was how the art drop started. And I was doing everything manually. I would click on every address and I would put it there, send one by one. So I would wake up on the Sundays and like for 3 4 hours I was sending art drops. But yeah, it is what it is for the time. It is a homegrown project. So I think it was fun and we introduced some good mechanics.
Nice. And isn't there only you burned a whole bunch initially of the originals? So I think you only have 8 copies of number one. I think that's all that
Hmm.
exists.
Yeah, but the rest are on the new contract.
And how many like the remain like how many now
The
exist?
same. It was, I think, the number one sold around 30 editions. So
Okay.
totally there are 30. So around 22 on the.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, if it's 31, 32, don't quote me on that. All right.
Yeah. As long as you're
um,
keeping it low, that's good.
yeah, yeah, man. I want to ask you about your origin stories. I don't know how much you want to share, but like if you don't mind sharing some information with us about you, how did you start in crypto, and then how did you later find NFTs?
So my crypto journey, actually, funny enough, I don't like this 10 years of my life essentially or longer. But I did work at a bank. I worked at two different ones. I worked at Global Payments, which was like a payment processor for e-commerce and stuff, based out of the States in Atlanta. So I was there for about 7 years, and then I worked for TD Bank, which was Canada's biggest bank, and now they're having pretty large presence in the United States. So I was there for about 6 or 7 years as well. Um, After a couple of years of being there, I would just witness, like I would be on conference calls. I was doing well, so I rose up through the ranks. So I get on calls with higher people up in the organization, and kind of find out like deeper inside information. In a lot of cases, I don't know, there was just the bank portrayed themselves as very transparent. And when I like on their commercials, they're like, "Oh, come talk to us. We're all open. We're diverse. Like, we listen to anybody. We help you all." And then on the conference calls, as I got more involved in the company, they'd be like, "Yeah, so just like get every line of business you can and fuck them." You know what I mean? I was like, "Wow, this is pretty fucking different than what you're portraying yourselves to be." And so after a while, I had a real moral conflict working for the bank. I was like, "I'm on the wrong side of history here. I don't like being here." They were compensating me well, so it was hard to walk away when you're getting six figures, doing well at your job, have tons of vacation time, get year-end bonuses. You know what I mean? So I had it pretty easy. My boss was cool with me, so I could do whatever I wanted. But at the same time, I was like, "Fuck, man! Like, I don't like helping the bank. If anything, like, I want to eradicate the bank and make them obsolete." So it came to a point in 2017 where I got a Bitcoin ATM in 2016, and I would go every day at lunch. I'd post pictures on social of me at my Bitcoin ATM helping people. And so my boss at the bank would see me, and he's like, "Yeah, you can't do that shit." And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm on lunch. I could do whatever I want. I'm on lunch. Like, I have no obligation to you for that hour. I can do whatever the fuck I want." And so I'd go and I'd continue to do it. And I was like, "If you don't like it, fire me." And because I was doing well, they didn't fire me ever. They just kind of like let it go. And then it came to a point where the Bitcoin ATM was doing very well. I was like, I don't know, I was helping like tons of people at that point with the ATM, getting on exchanges, buying like ETH and other like coins that were doing well at the time. And so after a while, I was like, "You know what? I don't need the job. I don't need the stress. I don't want to help you anymore." So in 2017, I literally just walked away. I started doing stuff with a couple of people that I still work with back in the day. And then I started going to conferences pretty heavily. I was doing it in 15, 16, but in 17, like I started traveling at least once a month. And then that got to be like twice a month as the years went on.
Yeah, we have seen the wonderful photos you post.
Well, yeah, that's because no one around me locally, I couldn't really talk to anybody. And like Jason Cassidy, who was my co-founder with Not Fungible, he's the first person I met around me who was on the same like knowledge base as me. We were both talking about counterparty. Back in the day, we were talking about spells of Genesis and other things with things going on, and we both loved collectibles. So we kind of like were waiting for that to happen. But Bitcoin was really, I got into BTC because I was like, I want the banks to become obsolete. We shouldn't be using them. Fiat is like a war-backed, terrible thing. And so I wanted to get into BTC to literally quietly take on like the government, the banks, and hopefully, support Bitcoin and do whatever I could to spread the word on that, and hopefully live long enough to see the day that it would topple the current system. And then along the way, literally in about 2017, after the ICO boom, and ICO boom reminded me of 2021 when everyone was buying anything. It didn't matter why or for what reason. Who gives a shit? I'm going to make money. That's all I care. And so 2017 was really bad for the industry. After watching it for like 4 years grow and liking it a lot and seeing that, I was like, fuck, this is getting just like the banking system. Like, I don't want to take part in this either. So at that time, the inner Bitcoin community was fighting about the block size. Bitcoin Cash had just forked and that came out, and Roger Ver was fighting with the Bitcoin community. And I was like, fuck, I don't like this vibe right now. Like, it was an awesome vibe for a couple of years, and now it's getting toxic. And that was, I was in the East ICO, so I was following Ethereum because I like smart contract stuff. And then when CryptoKitties blew up, I was at the Ethereum Waterloo conference that just took place like a week ago for this like real life for this year. And that year, Dapper Labs came in second place for CryptoKitties and stuff like that there. So I was like, I can't believe like these cats are breaking Ethereum. That's fucked up that people want this. It was a weird use case that all the Bitcoin people were like, see, Ethereum doesn't work. And I was like, well, technically it's just like there's mass transactions and there's not enough like proof of work miners to complete those transactions. That's why it's out of whack, but there's never been a demand. So the miners don't just sit idle, never winning rewards. All of a sudden, when there's like this huge spike, they just weren't ready there. They're like, there's not enough of them to handle it. Now there definitely is. But at that time, I was like, let me look into this. So I bought a whole bunch of Gen 1 and Generation 0 CryptoKitties at the time, started breeding them. And I was like, actually, this isn't like my buzz. I'm not really into cats, technically. I'm a dog person, to be honest with you. And then as far as...
Me too.
As far as like the mechanics, though, I was like, fuck, like I like this. I just wish it was something more like in tune with me, or like collectible wise or something like that. So I just started looking on like Super Rare. I found OpenSea, and then I found Decentraland. So all at the same time, I was finding like art, the metaverse land. There was like Gods Unchained and Chainbreakers were out. Chainbreakers went away, but like things like that were happening. I was like, fuck, now there's like these games coming out, like Magic the Gathering kind of online, like Spells of Genesis. And so I was like, fuck, this is cool too. And so they all kind of happened like 6 months of each other. So as Bitcoin, like I was getting a bad taste in my mouth about Bitcoin, this all happened. I was like, holy shit. So I had the same feeling about all this stuff as I did when I first found Bitcoin in like late 2012. And so I was like, holy shit, like this is unbelievable. Like this is like the next phase and evolution of what's going to happen with crypto. And so I started looking at more art and stuff like that. I started buying physical art. And then I also bought tons of land and like a whole bunch of pre-sales and Sandbox. I bought a lot of DCL estates. I was buying Somnium Space stuff in their sales. And so I just almost not really forgot about BTC, but I got heavily involved in Web3 for maybe like 2 or 3 years. And then I would say 8 months ago, reading just about like Infura, JP Morgan Chase owning like a lot of infrastructure with Ethereum now. Some of the stuff that like I was like, fuck man, 2014, this would have been like, if you would have told someone that, no one would have ever invested in them. And at the time, it was like this amazing like Hail Mary that like this might be the decentralized smart contract collectibles platform that like works out just like Bitcoin. And so I was very excited about that. But as the years go on, and like I don't like some of the stuff I'm seeing on Ethereum, to be honest. And I've always been an Ethereum supporter. I just don't like some of the like they're not caring as much about staying decentralized as I would hope and wish, and that's alarming a little bit to me. And so right now, actually, I'm finding a lot of comfort that like I know the Bitcoin community very well. I'm very comfortable with Bitcoin. I'm comfortable with the tech. Not as much now with like Lightning and ordinals and inscriptions. I definitely need to like brush up on my knowledge on that aspect. But I can like I know my Bitcoin network is very big because that's all I had for 5 years before Ethereum like really blew up. And so I'm just I don't know I'm liking that I have the option right now to either go to BTC and know exactly what I'm expecting, or continue
Mm-hmm.
on with ETH because right now like I have a lot of assets I've acquired over the years, and if ETH continues on this path, to be honest with you, I'd like to export about 70% of them
De-risk,
onto
yeah, because
BTC
it's not
because like
going
if
well.
ETH goes the
Yeah.
way of the whatever, and I'm KYCing with anything I'm touching, I'm like I don't want any piece of that. And so like
Yeah.
I mean I just want to because I have so many assets, I have to do it over a period of time. Like it's a daunting task to do that like in a week. To send thousands and thousands of assets to the chain. Plus, it's going to be very expensive depending on like the network. So I just I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm liking that I have knowledge in Bitcoin, and anyone who's new to the space who only got in with ETH and like Solana and Tez and those other chains, and right now like all that's kind of up in the air. What's happening with that? What's going to be like here in 5 years? I would encourage anyone who really doesn't know much about BTC. Right now is a good time. If you're comfortable with all the other shit you're using and you don't know much about BTC, it's not going anywhere. So if I were you, I would brush up on your skills and your knowledge on BTC, because like if anything, it's going to beat out 99% of what's here.
I have an opposite opinion, but we will touch it a bit later when we go more in depth into BTC. But man, it sounds like you are a true rebel, and it's very nice to get in touch with people like you that fight a good fight, even though you were comfortable at your job. You were restless, and you looked for something better, and you shaped a beautiful story. You know, you have a nice journey, and I bet it's more fulfilling than working for the evil, right?
Well, at that time, like walking away from a six-figure job, and your wife's like, "You sure you want to?
Felt crazy
Are you
because
sure you want to do
Bitcoin was
this?"
like $200, I
Oh, no
guess.
doubt. And I mean, ETH was at like 15 or 17 or something like that. So like it wasn't like everything was going crazy. Like we saw it was 70,000 and 4,400. So at that time, I just was like, I think there's something to this. And I want to spend my entire time, all my day, engaged
Mm,
in this space. So I can't be working. I can't double task. And so I made the decision to leave. And then like a year later, I was like, what the fuck took me so long? Like, why did I even consider and hold back on like
yeah.
considering it for 6 months and
Well, on
waiting?
hindsight, it's easier, but taking that into account makes it even more admirable, in my opinion.
For sure, yeah, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, and I can't imagine like now. I literally, it's almost to wake up and be like, "Fuck, I need a 9 to 5." Like if I had that, it'd be like I don't know, it'd be like a bad dream for me. And so I'm very happy because the space is very weird. Explaining it to people like what you do, like I'm a digital art curator. I don't know, builder, buyer, collector. Like it makes no sense to like most masses who
Yeah.
do a standard job. And so explaining things to
Yeah,
people is really
exactly.
fucking hard. And as the years go on, now I just kind of, I know I'm saying like I'm into blockchain gaming, and everyone's like, oh, okay, and they just, you know what I mean? It's like an overall blanket thing that they can accept. You know what I mean? It's kind of,
Yeah, the crazy person still,
yeah,
right?
no doubt.
You mentioned that when you found NFTs felt like when you found BTC, and I can totally relate to that because when I found NFTs, I immediately got consumed for like 3, 4 weeks straight up. Like I would only wake up and research and learn stuff. And this is exactly what happened to me when I found Bitcoin in 2015 and I bought some. Um, I remember at the time when I bought it, I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's go! This will go to 1 million!" Woohoo! So I bought only one, which I lost it gambling later on. But it was like a life-changing experience because like I came in contact with Bitcoin and I was like, oh, let's learn more to make fun of those losers. And the more I read and I learned about it, I said, fuck man, this is changing my life. So immediately I bought one. So I did a complete 180. The same thing happened to me when I found NFTs. So I can totally relate to that. Was it like an out of body experience for you as well? Were you like super excited at 4 a.m., like looking at silly pictures, or how was it for you?
Well, totally. There's been like 4 points in my life. Like I got on the internet in '94, and when I got on there, I was like, "Holy fuck!" There really wasn't much to do then, but I was still like, "Holy shit," because it was like a new tool that I had never experienced. And then in '97, I got on eBay, and that I was like, "Fuck!" Like people are buying and selling stuff, and I've sold like tens of thousands of things. Like I've probably sold about 70,000 things over the last 20 plus years on eBay. So when I found that too, I was like, "Fucking A, like this is e-commerce." And so I've been buying things online for like literally 25 years, and people are just catching on now. I'm like, I can't believe like everyone still goes to brick and mortar, because I try my hardest not to go to brick and mortar, to be honest with you. And so when I found BTC, I literally at first I was like, I don't get this, because I worked at the bank. I was like, how the fuck can someone issue money without the bank issuing it? So that didn't make sense to me. And then I was like, and if I bought it and it's illegal, then like, what are they going to take it, or my wallet? I can't use it. So then I was like, I'm pretty skeptical of it. And it took me about 6 months to revisit it. When I did, and I finally got it, I was like, what the fuck? So I told my wife, and literally I said, you take the kids to your mom's for the weekend. I need to be alone. I can't have any distractions. So I sat there like, and for a while I have to admit, I was like screaming and swearing and like frustrated, because I was trying to do a lot of shit. Like I bought it. I was trying to move on multiple exchanges. I was opening different wallets. There was no KYC, so it was easy at the time, but still, I was like, I'd send a lot in some wallets and get there right away, and other things I'd send, and it wouldn't get there. And I was like, fuck, did I lose it? And I was like kind of tripping. So it took me a little bit to get a comfort level. It took me like at least a day or two. But by the time my wife, like she was gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when she got back Sunday night, I was like, okay, I totally figured this new shit out. I know, like, you know what I mean? And I was like, no, like, it opened up so many doors for me. And then I go to my buddies and be like, check this shit out. Download this wallet, let me send it to you. And as soon as they saw the money leave and come to the wallet, like instantaneously while we were standing beside each other, they're like, what the fuck? And I was like, I know, that's what I'm saying to you. Like, check this shit out. And you could be in Africa and this could be $3 billion. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Then they're like, holy shit. And then they kind of get what I was saying. And so when I saw NFTs, I was too.
Maybe back then it was a tad harder to understand, though, because as you said, there was no such strict rules as much as today around money, and the stricter it is, the more adoption we see.
100%. And I mean, at the time, it was more like literally when I had my Bitcoin ATM, I'd just sit there near it, like around the lunch hour, and people would walk by and you hear someone be like, what's a Bitcoin? I mean, like the buddy would be like, oh, you buy drugs online with it and shit. I'd be like, get fuck back here. I mean, back here. I mean,
Fucking A.
That's like one of fucking 9,000 things you can do with this shit. I try and correct it. I was like, yes, you can do that, but you can also do a lot of other shit. You know what I mean? And so like,
but that was true. If you liked good drugs and steady supply, you had to buy fucking Bitcoin.
Yeah, do you know what? Honestly, like the only thing I've ever really bought with my BTC or any of my crypto is other crypto or crypto related like collectibles. So I've never really like, I mean, like, yes, the odd time over the last 10 years I've cashed out here and there for like whatever amounts. But as far as most of my crypto, like if I don't hold it, I haven't spent it on, like I never ever was on Silk Road buying anything and shit like that. Like if anything, I bought coins, like funded coins, like Titan coins or Leolanas and like Casacious coins or other like artwork with it. But I never really did that shit. But most people back in the day definitely used it to buy dope and shit.
Yeah, 100%. I know people that told me this is how I got into it. I was buying a lot of drugs. So, like, I was spending a lot of money on drugs, but I also had wallets I forgot money in. And when I checked them, they had a lot of money.
Well, and some people, if you literally, like, if you bought it in 2012 and then in the peak and you bought it with BTC, you might have bought like an ounce for like $400,000. Do you know what I mean? So some people are like, fuck, do you know how expensive that weed was? And like in hindsight?
Exactly, like the pizza, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when Rarible was like starting and it was pumping. You were one of the biggest art collectors in there, and in my opinion, looking back, the Rarible market was like one of the most pure art markets with a good expression, just because of the main page. Like you would see the art, and depending on that, you would buy it or not. So it was. This is how I was buying art, and most of the people were buying art. So when new artists would come in, they would try to astonish people with their art, and like art really mattered. So when they put it up there, people would judge it based on how it looked and then get to know the artist. So in my opinion, it was like a really, really good time, but it was also a very hypey time. It was the first rise of NFTs. What do you think about that?
Rarible was an awesome time, and I found Rarible very early. And so I was able to get on the leaderboards like before people were spending like tons of ETH and stuff like that. No, Pablo and Colby, like we were always kind of buying a lot. I think one of their major problems, like the first, say, 4 to 6 months, Pac was on there, released some stuff. Hackatow was on there. Like there was some major, major artists on there. And then there was literally blatant wash trading going on after they announced the Rary token, which I think was a mistake. They should have done that in secret and said we took a snapshot like a month ago and now we're giving you an airdrop of X amount of raries. Saying ahead of time you're doing it, everyone started gaming the shit out of Variable, and that's kind of drove it downhill in my mind. Like when that Conor McGregor video sold for like 50 ETH, and then you saw it go back to the next wallet, like it was just blatantly happening. And so that was maybe their downfall. And I know, I think his name was was it Alex? Their CEO. He was in the one WhatsApp.
Alex Salnikov. Yeah, we also had him for an interview. I will tell you what his opinion is after you finish.
Well, he was in one of our WhatsApp groups with a whole bunch of like founders, like Super Rare was in there, Nifty was in there, and a whole bunch of other ones. And a couple of us were asking him, like, "Hey man, there's some blatant wash trading going on. Here's the wallets. Here's what's happening. Like, you should really stop this because it looks terrible." And like zero response. And you'd be like, someone else would be like, "Hey man, I have a problem with my account. Like, I'm not getting any like other people following me." And he'd like respond, be like, "Oh, I'll fix that. Don't worry." And we're like, "Oh, anyway, can you address the other questions we asked you like 3 hours ago?" No response. So this went on for like a month, and we're like, "Dude, like this is fucking like out of control with like wash trading." And like, I don't like taking part in that shit. And so it went on so blatantly that we actually kicked him out of the group. He was the first person ever to get kicked out of the group. And I emailed him privately saying, "If you curb this and like I see a change or like we notice a change, you're gladly welcome back. But as long as you're idly sitting by and blatantly ignoring like thousands of ETH a week being wash traded, like and everyone's telling you the addresses and you're just fucking deleting the emails, like I just don't want to take part in that platform." I know tons of artists and collectors left. But when I was on there, that was like when Max Osiris was up there. Robin started the trash movement. Alan Bolton was on there selling his work for like $50. And I was like, "Alan, what are you doing, man? You're a crazy good artist. Like, get on some of the fucking curated platforms, man." And so it was cool, but it was more of like an underground to open sea, which I liked. And anyone who was like a misfit or got kicked off other platforms or like was some underground shit, they were all on there. And that I did gravitate to quite a bit. I just wish it stayed more on the up and up. And I don't mean like regulated and like that nonsense, but I just mean I wish the CEOs and the C-level execs made sure that stupid shit wasn't going on. And they seemed to like completely ignore it and almost like welcome it because they were number one in the charts. But everyone was like laughing, going, "Dude, you can't just like come into existence 2 weeks ago and be dominating like 3 times over anyone else's volume. Like, we know what's going on." And so like it just became a running joke. And then
it was an omerta between everybody, right?
Yeah. And that's just unfortunate because if they did curb that and it went on, like I think it would have been like I think it would still exist. And everyone would still, like, I know it exists, but I think it would still exist with like a good user base. And I don't really check much of my stuff there. And you're right with the contracts. Like if you're listing shit on OpenSea and they're all the old on contracts, sometimes the gas fee is like $190 to move it. And like it's ridiculous in some cases. So a lot of that shit is just almost like untouched relics that'll get lost one day.
Exactly. When I was talking with Alex about this, I asked him that on hindsight, looking back, they had a really nice grassroots movement of artists, and they had like a pure art market that was focused on actual aesthetics. But they chose to go on a totally different direction, with the celebrity mints and all of that. And eventually that also alienated the community. You had an artist there grinding to make 1 ETH a week, and he was making it, and then Pac shows up and he cannot make anything. So, and him and thousands of others. So it is demotivating and it feels like a betrayal because these people were minting there. They brought the collectors, they brought like the interest, and then they got shut on. But like also the platform was immature. I think Alex gave a wonderful reply to that. So the whole team was from Russia, and this was their project, you know. So they don't have the same opinions and views we have about the celebrities or that much of a knowledge. So when Jennifer Lopez or Jennifer Aniston or whatever Jennifer wanted to drop with them, they felt like it was a good thing, a good decision, you know. Later on, they relocated to US, and now they probably understood the dynamics of fame. But I found it very interesting because it shows you that like sometimes we choose based on our metrics and our knowledge, but like people have different worldviews and lifetime experiences that don't relate necessarily.
Totally. Yeah, I know because Wearable did get into that. They had like the Floyd Mayweather shit going on, and funny enough, someone was helping Floyd Mayweather that used to host conferences in Toronto, in Canada, and the untraceable conferences. And so she called me and she's like, "Hey, Steve, I know you've got some buildings in Decentraland. Can we post Floyd Mayweather stuff in your building?" And I was like, "Sure, go ahead. I'll just take my stuff down. You can deploy whatever." So it went up in there, and then a couple months later, he got sued by the SEC for like fraud and shit. And I was like, "Fuck, man, that was hosted in my building." And so I kind of regretted that. And I know it goes to show, like, even though it's a celebrity, it might not always be a good idea to partner with those people.
Yeah, you can't be too careful, man. Like even with our project, I said sometimes I do an interview and then the person has like a big drama going on. I say, fuck it, man. An interview is not like an endorsement, but it definitely happens. It definitely happens. You can't beat yourself over it, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Um, when all this mania with Rarible happened, also everybody was watch trading, even if they weren't aware of it, and they were just legitimately on quotes using the market. Like people were buying like maniacs and selling like maniacs. So you would buy something, relist it around the same money, sell it, and keep going.
Oh, that like spurred the flippers market for sure. Pranksy was doing very well. A couple other like people that were buying and selling, they might buy three of them, keep one, flip two really quickly. If there was like a mint of 10, and some people missed out.
That was little old me. That was little old
Oh,
me.
totally. No, there was a couple of you. Like, if you look at because if you look at like even a lot of money, he owns like we all own kind of a whole bunch of the same artist artwork. And if you look, you're like, oh my god,
Yes.
there's like a pattern forming where you look, you're like, oh my god, this dude owns like 19 things that I own. And so at like over this like year period, there is a whole bunch of collectors. And if you look, and there's 10 mints on those like different mints, like there's the same handful of names over and over and over. And some people don't
Yeah.
sell them, and the ones who have them listed, some of them are listing for like 10, 5 ETH. So they're not letting them go for no money. They definitely like want to hold them
Yeah.
or asking like a very high price for them.
Yeah, well, the market is liquid, but it is what it is. It was such a crazy time. But at the time, also, a lot of crypto punks jumped in, and this is when shit went ballistic. And I remember over the years, I have read some of your tweets that were critical about crypto punks. Is that where the distaste came from?
It kind of wasn't personally like, and I don't mean this like in a negative way, but I don't like pixel shit. I grew up in like I mean
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my mid 40s. I grew up with all that pixel stupid shit. I want to go to like high end 3D crazy fucking like animated stuff. So I'm sick of seeing all the
Mm-hmm.
pixel stuff. So when I saw punks with Larva Labs and they were free, I was like, fuck man, why didn't they make these good? Because I would have picked up like 10 of them. I was like, I don't really want a block thing in my wallet. And so no offense to punk holders. I'm not a BAYC holder or fan. The day they were out, I was on a clubhouse call and someone was like, "Hey, you getting a BAYC?" And I was like, "No, I don't want a monkey." Maybe that was a stupid decision, obviously in my mind, but I probably would have sold it right away anyway. But I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm about like really really high quality shit. And so I don't know, any of the comics I buy, any of the cards I buy, like I don't buy like the base set. I buy like the highest end set possible with like all the refractors and all the holographic shit on them. And so I like a specific I don't know, quality of art and stuff like that. So like I like Josie a lot. There's a couple of like high end artists that like their work. Like I do like the Punked.lol and the Banksters project only because of the meaning behind that. That means more than the aesthetics by far to me. But at the same time, when I saw those, I emailed Brandon. I was like, Brandon, this project's fucking wicked, man. And I want to meet you in person and shake your hand for doing this. But at the same time, why the fuck did you make them pixelated and stupid looking? And he's like, dude, it was on purpose. I was like, but why did you make them like really high quality and with the back end so wicked? Because then it would have been like a double fucking like amazing project. And I was like, you mean? And then my wife was like, that's really fucking ignorant to say that to him. I was like, I didn't mean it like rudely. I just meant like, I so wish you would have done the back end and exposed them for all their financial crimes, and then also done the front end where they look aesthetically fucking amazing. And so I guess that
you mean the banksters,
the
right?
banksters or the punked. Like you mean the like I wish the punked.lol. He did those projects too. And I think he's doing like the Cripsters too with all like the idiots of scammers of crypto. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really about like if I had the choice, I would have nothing pixelated. Which is I don't know, maybe that's fucking ignorant because I know like Matt Kane, NFT Studios, like a lot of people love crypto voxels. Like crypto voxels, I never do anything in there. I never go in there. Tons of people love it in there, and that's like the thing because it's voxel. Like that's why they kind of like it so much. And that's just I don't know, it's just a personal opinion. Maybe if I grew up and like missed that, and I was like, ooh, that's nostalgic to me. But it was like, fuck, man, that was 20 years of my childhood. I don't want to see that shit anymore. And so I just want to see everything like go like progress and get like higher quality where everything looks like it's a like a high end 4D like cinema render.
No, I understand that. I can see your opinion about that. It feels old, but sometimes by learning new things, we also learn to appreciate the old things, and we find meaning where we couldn't see meaning. And I think that's part of life and progressing your taste and your mindset as well. A lot of things I didn't like, now I like olives or other
No
stuff.
doubt. That's a hilarious reference. Yeah.
But yeah, this is how I feel about it. And a lot of things I didn't know I liked. After I learned more things about them, I started to appreciate them. And yeah, this is all part of the journey, I guess.
Just to clarify, I don't doubt that they're like they've become definitely like a part of the space, and to a lot of people, like when they see that, it reminds me of when they got into space, or like to them that's their grail investment kind of thing. So I get why there's like nostalgia around there. In some cases, like even Josie, when I bought Josie's Tune In, I was like, why'd you put a punk on there? And she's like, I love punks. I have a couple punks, and I'm a huge fan of Lever Labs. I was like, fuck, I wish you didn't put that on that because I own 3 Tune Ins. And so when I saw that, I was like, fuck, that's the only project there I don't like. And so it's funny because Josie totally defended it and stuff like that. And even like nowadays, like I can't argue that most people, when you say, hey, I own NFTs, or like, do you own a punk or like a BAYC? Like those are the 2 reference points. So it's unarguable at this point, whether my opinion matters. Like on that, it doesn't. It's just a personal preference. And some of it focuses on like when Christie's or Sotheby's put that article out saying like, this is the first NFT ever. And other people who maybe got in the space in like 2022 or 2021 come in and be like, yeah, man, punks are the first ever. Like, and they argue with people and stuff. And you're like, dude, man, there's fucking Namecoin ones like 3 years before that one was even thought about. And so in some cases, it just maybe is just like more education is needed in that. But when Christie's puts articles like that out, it's taken as like a fact or truth by like 99% of the community. And so just things like that, like, and I'm not saying it's by no means Punk's fault or BAYC's fault. It's Christie's and other third parties that need to do more due diligence or more fact checking in the space, and just maybe like put more like truthful articles out there. So that doesn't reflect on BAYC anyway.
It's just like Red Lion does.
Well, yeah, I like that shit. I remember talking back in the day to Frankie Needles in Frankie's Tavern in DCL, and he was like, "Man, I want to make like DNN, Decentralized News Network, where there is no fucking rules. Like the news is the news." And I was like, "That's what we should have, man." And so when
that's that's a pipe dream.
Well, I don't know, man. Like I know there's always going to be a jaded thing, but as long as you're covering the stories in a neutral way,
this is impossible. The best.
But it has to be better.
I have done a lot of research in that. There is no way. There is no subjectivity in it, and if the curation is completely decentralized, is completely gameable. So you just made a system that is exactly the same as the old one. When it can be manipulated, it will be, and it's just the sad truth. I think the only news agency I saw doing amazing work lately are a few channels on YouTube and Ground News. The way they are like aggregating news and they are showing the political bias of the same stories. I think this is super valuable. So yeah, I admire that.
That
But
is
like
indeed, yeah, exactly. That is indeed valuable.
coming to the notion of like decentralized news is impossible. That's why we do it like that. We are monetizing through art, because like if you have sponsors and VCs, then you gotta say what they want, because they are paying you. It's not the people. So there is a lot of disconnect between the incentive of the news agency and the incentive of the people who need information and journalism. So that's why we cooked our tokenomics like that. And I thought it was a revolutionary model at the time. Like in 2020, I was saying, you don't need ads. You need to, create a product based on your output. You don't need to advertise others. You have the power. But unfortunately, I wasn't heard, and I'm still trying to be heard about that. But this is how what I believe about that.
Nice. So that's totally fair. At least you like put it out there. And how do you curate like your news? Is it community driven? What you think is the hottest topics in the space, or what was like? How did something make it into one of the editions?
So whoever wants to write an article about the community or their passion project and all of that, they're welcome to do it and publish with us, as long as it's not like doesn't have like a malicious incentive behind it. We would like to document all the voices that we can, and give the opportunity to community members to voice their opinions and the stories according to them. We also document like what is happening in the communities, discords, and all of that, because that's lore and that's all part of the story, and let's say part of the verbal traditions that getting lost. So it is like the equivalent, I think,
Totally.
of that.
And who's that guy who used to do like that 1 minute news? You had him on one of your covers when he was on vacation. Remember that dude when Wearable was like taking off? He'd do like 1 minute.
Oh yeah, that was a power surge.
Yeah,
What an
Power Surge.
amazing
That dude was
dude.
fucking hilarious. He'd always come on with his trippy fucking huge smile and he'd like spewing all this shit out for like 1 minute of the day's activities and showing you like some cool stuff he liked.
Perfect journalism, bro.
Totally, yeah,
Perfect,
that guy was
perfect show.
yeah, that guy was doing like he was doing good shit. He had like a good following going on back in the day.
Yeah, but it was unsustainable at the end. Like he wasn't making any money, nobody was supporting him. It was hard.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing it for the money, but like eventually, like if you're spending so much time, man, like it's impossible. And also, if you have a team like we do, it's impossible not to need financial aid. But one time I was talking to Serge with DMs, and I was like, "Hey, man, don't worry. You are still young. You're gonna make it, and this what you do is amazing, and people will care eventually. And try this and try." And he's like, "Dude, I'm like 45 or what he said." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "You look like a kid, bro. I thought you were like 22."
No doubt. That's hilarious. Yeah, it is funny.
So I still remember that.
I think most people in the space, and I kind of forget that. Like, fuck, I've been in
Mhm.
BTC for like 11 years now. You mean, and before that, I was fucking doing shit in the bank. So, like, I don't know, it's not really, like, I don't think there's many of us that still are like the biggest part of the community. It's mostly like the younger people who are more active, who are free to travel more frequently. Like, you mean, might not, like, they might be working a part time job, so they can give a lot to a community and offer support on Discords and shit like that. So I think I don't know, we're lucky to kind of have the diversity in here where there's a young generation, like, still with like passion, fire. You mean like all new, like naive with like big wide eyes. And then there's people who've been here who are getting, I don't know, not like burnt out, but like I mean, it used to be like, fuck the government, we're going to win. And now they're like, fuck, man, they're going to kick me out of the country if I'm doing this shit. And so there's just, I don't know, there's a lot of people who are.
No, but that's what hurts me. It used to be anti-establishment, and as you say, fuck everybody, fuck the banks, fuck the governments, and now it's like fuck all the grassroots stuff. Let's simp for the brands. Let's simp for the banks. Like when I see, oh, this company is coming to Web3, I'm like, who gives a fuck, bro?
Well, yeah, I
Like,
find it
but
weird
but
too.
that's what people care
That the
about. So
validation of these
this
companies.
really hurts me.
100%. Yeah, we should be like, it shouldn't be Christie's and Sotheby's when they come in. Web3 made it. I'm like, we already made it. We attracted them here because we were already establishing ourselves. We did that with zero help from the outside. And so it's, I don't know, being self-governed, I think is very important because like the rules stay with what's important to that community. As soon as VC, like literally the day that OpenSea announced that Mark Cuban and A16Z and shit like invested in them, I posted on Twitter, like, this is the day, this is OpenSea's turning point. Like, they're never going to be better than they are right now. And like, because they're not making the decisions anymore. And so you can't, like, the reason why they were good is because they got Web3, they were part of it, and they built a tool that they wanted to fucking use that didn't exist. As soon as Mark Cuban got there, he didn't give a shit about that. All he wants is ROI. Give me more money at the end of the year, and I don't give a fuck what you do. Just give me more money. And so that changes everything. Then the dynamics aren't the same. The roadmap changes. Everything changes. And so it's hard not to take money like that as long as you still have the voting power and the say in the company where you can still like put up a fight and win. So you're like, if you're 51% or greater, at least that way you can kind of like veto if something you don't agree with is like supposed to go in your magazine. You're like, no, fuck that. I'm calling this. And I'm saying, no, I'm not putting that in there. And so that it's good to have that final say in some cases.
Yeah, the time when Mark Cuban came in was absolute craziness, man. But like in his defense, I kind of liked his approach at the beginning. But then, like he came in, he started getting rugged left and right,
100%.
and he cried for regulation, and he fucking left everything that he touched. Kind of went to zero.
Well,
Like every project he bought.
Kevin O'Leary,
Mm-hmm.
that guy just, I don't know, I just don't like someone with that demeanor. He's just ignorant to everybody he speaks to. There's no reason to like fucking, like, just because you have money doesn't mean you're better than everybody. And so when he came to Canada and bought Coinberry, which was like one of the only places in Canada, an app that you could use where you didn't have to KYC. And I think you could take about $8,000 or $10,000 out a day. So everybody in Canada used that because it was the only tool left that you could do any remote volume like that without giving all your shit away. And so he came in and bought that and two other apps, and within a week, all of them were KYC and AML. So all these people in the country were like, what the fuck? This dude just came in, bought like the 3 alternative apps to like the establishment and fucked them all up in like 7 days. And so there was like hundreds of thousands of people across Canada who were like, what the fuck do I use now? And so he fucked everything up. And he's like, yeah, we should be giving all the information to the CRA and the IRS. Everyone should have to like AML and KYC to use any platform for anything to do with crypto. I mean, I was like, what the fuck, man? Like I don't know, if you want to like ruin something, that's like the poster child for doing it.
Yeah, man. Exactly. It is what it is. They bring the old ways think into it, but like crypto is by far not a pure place full of like innocent people. Quite the opposite.
No, and I mean, as soon
Quite the
as you get to a
contrary.
$1 trillion plus market cap, you have to expect that's going to happen. More scams.
Mm.
It means like security gets way more important, and then you have the people coming out of the woodwork who are just here for money. We see like even I think was it Christie's who announced they're shutting down their one metaverse division. I think they announced it yesterday.
Well, not because now metaverse has a bad name. Anyway, I think Christie's and Sotheby's are not really needed. Like their use case was like auctions and stuff like that. But like we can do that without paying like 30%.
Well, we found out now most of their auctions were bought by FTX fucking customer funds anyway. You know what I mean? So it's not like that was all bad community by any means. That was like all dodgy shit taking place too, just for some headlines. So that's not very healthy for the space either.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I could argue that it's not like crypto versus Web 2 or Web 3 versus Web 2. It's like the stink came from there, but it's also in here. It's not like they made crypto bad. There were bad actors here that also shaped that.
Oh, do you know how many people I know that have been in crypto just as long as me, who I haven't touched an exchange for years now? I would
Mhm.
say 60% of people I know that are very tenured in crypto, most of them got burned with Celsius, FTX, Three Arrows, something like that. All of them were getting greedy and trying to yield their coins and staking for the longer periods. You know what I mean? So like no one in here that says like, oh yeah, I don't do anything like that. Like I was blown away when I saw all these people. I was like, I can't believe you're using these platforms still. And they're the ones who talk shit about them all the time. Like, you shouldn't be on the exchanges. Like, what the fuck, man? You just said you lost 18 Bitcoin FTX. You were on them too. You know what I mean? Like, and all this shit. So it's just, it blows my
Oh
mind. Like,
my
yeah, like
God.
when I say that, like when I got fucked in 2018, I got fucked. I'm never allowing myself to get fucked again. So I refuse to use those tools. And so the first thing when someone's like, "Hey, check this out," I'll go like look at it, not through a link. Which I'm sorry for not opening your Calendly. I'm really anal about clicking on links. And so if I go check some shit out and it's like sign up now with an email and like whatever, I'm like, fuck that, close. I'm like, I'm not using this platform. I'm like, all I want is a handshake, so I don't have to give you all my information. There's no need for that anymore.
And now with DeFi, it's proven that it can work just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There's been more people
Uh,
getting hacked, and like I feel very terrible for them because I've been through it. And like, you don't sleep, you can't fucking eat, you get gray hair if depending on how old you are, and shit like that. And I was like, I mean,
yeah,
like I
100%.
got fucked like pretty bad, man, like 5 years ago. And so now I'm seeing like people getting their MetaMask drained or whatever else. Like, I know it's very, very. Like you have to be very cautious now. They're getting way more sophisticated. The tools aren't updating to cover that. So you yourself are the one responsible. You can't rely on MetaMask or Trust Wallet to update and keep you safe. Like, I mean, they're trying their best, but there's teams of fucking people in Korea and Russia that are trying to beat them to it. And so like everyone needs to be extremely diligent now. And I know even me, like I haven't listed stuff in a long time, but I went to list some ENS names. And the wallet, my MetaMask came up and it's like, know that your contract, this is a third party. And it didn't say like they have access to your wallet for this contract or anything. It says they have access to all of the NFTs now
Yeah,
and
they changed
in
the
the future.
language. They changed the language.
So I
Yeah.
emailed MetaMask and I said, okay, this contract address that it comes up that it's going to give access to, I don't know it. When I looked on OpenSea or when I looked on Etherscan, it comes up with like, it hasn't had any activity in 3 weeks. And I was like, well, what the fuck is that? It can't be something I'm listing because it would have activity like by the hour. And so I emailed MetaMask and they go, no, OpenSea has 19 contract addresses and it falls back to the other ones if the other ones are being used widely. And so I was on one of the ones that didn't have a lot of activity. So I referenced it on Etherscan. I did everything possible. But along the touch points of listing it, 3 times was like this fucking huge red risk message that came out like error. And it looked like I was giving access to someone to take away my funds. So I've been like conversing back and forth with MetaMask for like a couple of days now. They referenced everything and then they showed me a tweet that OpenSea's like legitimate account put out showing those 19 addresses, and the address is one of them. So I knew it was legitimate, but I still created a whole new wallet.
But it takes all of that effort just to verify.
Like a new
Fuck,
person would
man.
have just clicked it and maybe got screwed, or just never click it, not sell anything ever again. But like, I don't know, it's not a very friendly environment now, and we're like 5 years into this. So when people do say it's not that easy, like I'm tenured and I don't know what the fuck's going on now. I mean, so to a new person, like this isn't a very easy space to navigate. So the number one thing, keeping security always at the forefront. The next to that has to be like user interface and the tools. It has to be where no one gives a shit. It's so easy that anyone can do it. And right now, it's like there's like 3 pretty difficult steps to getting into Web3 and buying something.
You are a smart person, an original thinker, and you are an early adopter. Also, Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything. But like, what do you think about the attempt now with Bitcoin to launch NFTs and like all the inscriptions and all that stuff that is coming out? My opinion is like trying to fit like a round peg on a square hole. I don't know if that's gonna work, but what do you think?
Inscriptions, like to be honest with you, I'm kind of someone who doesn't think like don't just mint it. Like I know, be very skeptical. If this is 5 things you want to mint, pick 2 of them that you're like the most proud of and mint those ones. And so for me, for everyone, just be like, fuck it, I'll just put anything as an inscription to be early. Like looking back, you'd be like, fuck, why didn't I take time to do something awesome? So as an early inscription, it's one of the best inscriptions that exists on the planet. And I would rather see like Lightning used for like the transaction and like efficiency cost, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, it's comparable, I would say, to like what ETH mainnet is in my mind as far as security levels. Like because it's second layer to BTC, but BTC in my mind is more secure than ETH. And so I find Lightning is very secure. If you find ETH mainnet okay, Lightning is totally okay too in my mind. And so I would definitely want to use like right now when I was trying to explore like who's doing the inscriptions, what marketplaces are they using, who are the biggest creators and buyers. Like, is it only BTC? What wallets are these being held? And like, is it like Microsoft Paint that you're creating them in? Like, I was trying to find out all these different answers, and almost nobody had them all. Like, they're like, I don't know, I did these two things, and I asked my buddy to help me with this thing. So it's still like right early. No one really gets what's going on. The ecosystem is still extremely small, and most of those tools were built for like a whole bunch of counterparty people when the community was like thousands of people. And so some of these tools like aren't ready for 50 million people in a day to do transactions on. And not only that, but I don't think they're secure enough or can handle that load. And so the ecosystem, I think, still has a lot to grow before it's like remotely going to rival ETH. But in my mind, like I've never used Tezos, I've never used Solana and things like that. Like those don't matter to me. I definitely would use Bitcoin's ecosystem. And so as someone who's been around, who does buy things and sell things, there's some artists who wouldn't mint on ETH, like Crypto Graffiti, Von Brecky, and a couple others. If they minted on Bitcoin, I would like bookmark a week from now to be home on my computer, make sure I have BTC in my wallet, ready to buy that item. And so like, if I'm willing to do that, then that community and ecosystem have kind of won me over in that sense. And not only that, but if I want to list some of my Josies, and like I might leave some on ETH, but I would definitely try listing some on BTC and shit like that. So like I'm already sold on BTC. I know the security of the network. I know like some of the players who are in that ecosystem already that I can maybe rely on for some help. Which I know maybe that's a saving grace for me because other people don't have that luxury, which would make it that much more difficult. And like you don't want to just try, I mean, with your BTC if you just like went through all those steps to get BTC and then lose it. So I don't know, like do your homework before you do shit. But I'm definitely watching that ecosystem. And just to be honest with you, and I'm not knocking any other chain, like I've never once even looked at a marketplace on Solana or Tezos. I'm definitely going to start like shopping around on BTC. And if I'm one of many people who has that same mindset, then like it's inevitably in like say 2 to 4 years going to have like tens of thousands of people doing shit in that ecosystem. But clogging
very interesting,
clogging
man.
that with weird stamps with like a fucking like a moon on it, or like a budget piece of pizza. I don't know. I just like, to me that's like kind of a waste. I'm not like an art critic or anything, but I personally wouldn't do that. If you ask me if you should, I would say I would try and talk you out of it, essentially. But if you have some if you have some awesome Hal Finney inscription on his birthday, putting a message to like the Cerebral Palsy Foundation, that is a cool inscription that I do believe in, and that's worth $30 to inscribe on Bitcoin's network. Putting a whole bunch of fucking stupid shit on there because you want to be the 10,000 to 11,000 people to do that. Like I wouldn't do that personally. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, very interesting, man. I don't see personally the Bitcoin NFT marketplaces dominating or becoming something, but it will depend. I can see both sides of the argument.
Well,
I'm just leaning.
The one catch thing is not many people who own Bitcoin spend it. So like even at Bitcoin 2023, there was tons of vendors, tons of art for sale. Not much of it went for very high prices compared to if they were offering ETH, because everyone has ETH and is used to spending their ETH. When you go to like the Bitcoin conference, everyone's like, well, I have Bitcoin, but I'm not fucking spending it. I'm not buying art with it. Where I did, but the masses do not do that. So it's really hard to have like a scarce city where you're selling wicked shit that like Michael Saylor owns as well. But then it goes for like 1.1 BTC, and you can only pay in BTC, and yet no one wants to part with their Bitcoin. So like the items that sell, they don't get their true value because no one's willing to part with that much BTC. Where I think if it was an ETH, they would see higher like market price sales for average ticket sizes. So I think they're doing a disservice by only accepting BTC. Now, if you talk to somebody about that, who's a Bitcoin max, who's like, fuck that shit coin, we don't want that. I'm like, but I mean, like, then fucking convert it back to Bitcoin if you want. I'm just saying, open yourself up to some like fucking some good projects, tokens. So you like do what you want with them the second you get them. But at least you're opening up to like a couple, like you know what I mean, like another 80,000 people in that ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think maximalism is very toxic. I mean, like nobody knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I've never been a Bitcoin maximalist. I've never been an ETH maximalist. I definitely use and support certain chains, and maybe have some questions about other chains that I'd like answered before I want to use them, and stuff like that. But to have someone come out like Max Kaiser being like, "You're a fucking idiot if you own anything but Bitcoin." Like, I just don't know how you had the open-mindedness to look into Bitcoin if you were into commodities or stocks or bonds or property, whatever you were into. And then you open your mind up to look into this. Like, you couldn't just get it the first time, so you had to like at least explore it deeper. And then you get into Bitcoin, and then you close your blinders and go, fuck everything else. I'm never looking at anything. Like, that's just idiotic to me and very close-minded. And I don't know how someone found Bitcoin and then shuts everything else off after they found Bitcoin. Like, there's going to be progressions of Bitcoin. Like, Lightning is the natural progression. That's going to like adapt into something else. So like, you can't just say like only Bitcoin, everyone else is idiots. I think that's like, you're an idiot for saying
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
And it's very idiotic to say you only hold, you don't do anything else. Well, go fuck yourself.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
I do what I want
are
with
billionaires
it.
or multimillionaires. That's easy to
Yeah.
say. If you have a mortgage to pay or a car payment, or you have to go buy groceries and shit, and you sold some art, you can't just hold all the ETH and never fucking sell anything and never get fiat. So some people, like, you have to live. But then again, some people like sell something wicked for $1 million and then go sweep like the floor of some seals. I mean, I'm like, well, dude, maybe in that case, like, pay your mortgage off. That might be a better life. That might be a better life decision. You know what I mean? Like, but either way, that's not my choice. That's theirs.
Did you dabble at all in art before you found crypto, or did crypto also lead you to become an art lover?
I didn't give a shit about art. If my wife or my girlfriend, whatever, throughout the years ever asked me about art, I'd be like, I don't care, put whatever you want up. It doesn't matter to me. I don't really appreciate it. It was only in like 2014 when I started going to crypto conferences. People would have like Bitcoin art because ETH was like brand new at that time. And so I'd see it and I'd be like, fucking A. And I usually try and buy it for cash because I'd always bring cash with me. And they'd be like, no, fuck that, only Bitcoin. I'd be like, ETH, like, nope, only Bitcoin. And so that's why it was always crypto art to me, because I could only buy it with crypto. No one would accept anything other than crypto when I paid for it. Literally.
And you have some interesting pieces from back then.
Oh, I have tons.
Physicals.
I do. I have a lot of like cool things that like aren't out now, like crypto graffiti. I have this Hal Finney piece that he got a whole bunch of Hal Finney's credit cards from Hal Finney's wife. He cut them all up and made a portrait out of all the broken pieces of credit card. And then he made 100 of them. I got number 22, unfortunately, because 21 was taken. But when I got it, I got a piece of a real credit card with it too. And those are like really coveted. And then he also made the white paper on a sheet of $1 US bills. Technically, that's illegal because he defaced them. And so he had it at a conference, and some lawyer told him to hide it under the table. So I came up to him and I was like, dude, do you have any more art? He's like, actually, I have one on the table, but I was advised by a lawyer not to show it because it's like defacing government. And there was like some bankers and shit there. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to hide it under here. So I bought that piece. So I have a couple older pieces. I have a Trevor Jones McAfee, number 450. I have some Coldies, some Josies, the Luchos and stuff. So I bought kind of that stuff, and I have some like metal inscriptions that show how like the whole blockchain works for ETH and Bitcoin, and just some posters from the round table in Mexico. So I've always liked that stuff, but it was only because it had like Bitcoin and ETH themes in it. And even now, like, I know it's weird because some people, like, if you're an art person that came from traditional space, you see this, you're like, oh, fuck, it's just another like Guy Fawkes mask with a Bitcoin symbol in it. When I see other art, I'm like, oh, that's just some weird shit people put up in their living room. Like, I don't really like that stuff. I only like stuff that tells like a story. And like most of my stuff is shit. Like Lucho is one of my favorite because he's talking shit about the government and the banking system. Like that just really resonates with everything like that I'm doing in my life. And so it's very impactful when I see stuff about Ross, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, the banks, the governments, like the jail system, like anything like that. Typically I look deeper into those pieces, and that's what I like to collect. Now other people might be like, I'm sick of seeing that stupid fucking theme. I hate that stuff. But I would say 90% of my portfolio, most of it has something to do with crypto in the piece of art.
I have always been curious. Why are you supporting so much the free Ross idea?
Well, if it was my kid or if it was my mother, I can't imagine being in that situation. I got to talk to Ross on the phone in my car one day when he called from jail to speak with Lynn. I was driving Lynn to her hotel, and so I got to talk to him. Lynn gave me his math notebook from high school. In it is like the craziest fucking math I've ever seen in my life. And my wife went to university for 8 years at U of W, which is a computer sciences school. And she saw it and she's like, I've never seen this math in my life. So she didn't know what it was either. So Ross was like a very, very smart kid. And so if Ross did something differently or in a different time era, maybe 10 years in the future or 15 years down the road, I think he'd be rewarded for like the tools he could build. And even in prison now, like he's kind of been mandated by lawyers to not talk so much about Bitcoin and freedom and like to knock the jail system and government, just to help himself, which is unfortunate because I'm sure he has to swallow his pride by not saying things. But at the same time, like every once in a while, Ross will write something and be like, I have an idea. I just learned like the Lightning Network exists. I think this tool could be built on it. When people read it, they're like, holy fuck. Like that's something that Peter Todd or like Jameson Lopp would come up with. Like, so Ross's brain is like cryptocentric essentially. He's like math oriented. So if Ross was able to even have internet access all the time in jail, or something like that, Ross would be able to give us like awesome tools, I think. And I mean, when you find out like there's rapists and like pedophiles out there that were in jail for like a year, and shit like that, Ross literally like made Napster of eBay and didn't really have much to do with it. Yes, he did have fake passports and he did like do some dodgy shit, like in like help people buy drugs knowingly. So yes, he probably should serve at least 5 or 10 years of jail time for that, which he's already served almost today, a decade. And so I don't doubt that what he did, like he had no, like 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 bad ill will towards. So he did do some dodgy shit. I agree with that. Putting him in jail for twice as much as El Chapo, who killed like almost 100 people knowingly, probably way more than that. Like that's fucked up. So if the crime fits the punishment, Ross should probably get a decade or two in prison, be out when he's like 45, 50, and perhaps maybe one day get married. I mean, or something like that. Maybe adopt a 10-year-old kid who has a shitty life or something like that, so we give a family. I mean, like that would be cool for us to be in jail every day with like people who like killed 3 people, or like you mean like slit a family's throat one day at their house and we robbed them. And Ross is like, I made a fucking website. I mean, like it's so
Yeah.
warped for the crime, and it goes to show the government wanted to make an example, just like Assange. How dare you like say that we blew up a fucking wedding that we shouldn't have done? Like, and he's the douchebag in that mix, as they're the ones who blew up the wedding. I mean, like it's just so weird how they turn it and make him public enemy number one, as they were the ones who did the dirty work. And so it's kind of America at its finest in my mind. It's very unfortunate, but Ross is just, I don't know, Ross is a big part of crypto, and those who don't get that, I think if you stay here long enough, you'll get his impact to the space. And I mean, his mom had cancer. She's 75. She's not going to live forever, and if she does, she's not going to be in great health. And so I just want to do all I can to, if one day he does get out in my lifetime, and maybe know I had like 0.001% to do with that, I know I would just be very happy knowing that I kind of accomplished something like that.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I think he should be freed, and he was an extremely smart person. He created uh, single-handedly one of the best marketplaces ever seen by humankind, and he was running the whole thing by himself, and he learned everything by himself. It's not like he hired coders and shit. He was like a top dog,
And
and yeah.
if you read the Silk Road Manifesto that Ross wrote, it's like I don't know, it's a good manifesto. It's about like liberty and freedom. But in it, he's like why can't we transact privately without the government watching us? Like if I want to buy marijuana off a guy down the street from me, like fuck you, I made the money at my job, I paid my taxes. I want to buy some fucking weed now, so fuck off. I mean, like they
Yeah.
want their hand in everything, and he's like, I want to build a tool where they can't have their hand in something, and I'm removing like all the bad stigmas around that trade. Like the dope trade has a lot of crime and like vices that like is a huge pool effect from that. And so to alleviate all that globally, that's a big fucking deal. I mean, like now in like a lot of states, dope's like legal. You can get mushrooms in Colorado. You can get mushrooms everywhere in Canada. Like, I mean, like they were on there, they sell mushrooms, and like, how dare you fucking do that? Like one day,
And still people are in jail for
well,
that.
totally, yeah. Now,
Well,
like,
it's
if you read Pablo Escobar's son's biography that he wrote, it's like an authorized biography. In it, he said the CIA was my dad's fucking best friend. They were his biggest partner for 2 decades. And then now they're like, how dare you fucking give us competition? I mean, like, really, that's really what's going on in reality. And so it's just so blatant and disgusting that I can't, as like a fucking functioning human being with a brain in my head, sit by and not do anything about that.
yeah, man. I agree with you on that. Um, we will see how the history will get formed. I hope we have a very positive Free Ross cover at some point when he gets freed.
Yeah, that would be
That will
awesome.
be, yeah, that will be a good one. What about not fungible? Can you explain, please, what is not fungible?
Yeah, so not fungible is like an art. kind of house and art gallery. So over the last, it's been about 2.5 years. So at first we started kind of with an incubator. Then unfortunately over about a year and a half, we did, I would say we did some of what we were hoping to do for the community, not as much as we would like to have done. And then during the bear markets and everything else, we kind of shut that aspect down. We gave a lot of opportunity to like the people involved in it still, and we still communicate with them. So there's no ill will on either one's end. But we would have liked to keep that going, but unfortunately, just like funding wise. But as far as the art we create, we have a Chronicle series. The Chronicle is 2008 until the last piece we have is 2021. And so that's like I know there's been the who's who of kind of like crypto early artists, Coldy, Lucho, Carlos, a lot of money, Coldy, Alan Bolton, Ness, and a couple others. I think we're in talks right now with Josie to do one of our pieces and stuff. So we've got a lot of like people, and they depict a year in crypto. So Lucho started with 2008, and so each piece kind of sums up maybe the top 5 to 10 stories that happened that year. They're the biggest, whether they're positive or negative for the industry. We sum them up in these pieces. So Lucho did kind of like pre-Bitcoin in the white paper, banking system collapsing. Carlos did the launch of the white paper on January 3rd when Bitcoin went with the launch of the network. And then a lot of money did like the pizza day. So everyone's kind of done like their significant contribution to like that year and what stood out the most. So those are the pieces that are kind of like the flagship in our lines of suites of art we do. And then we also have the Crypto Wars, which Jay Marino started that one off. And then Tyrone kind of did the second piece. And that's more of like the banks clashing with crypto over the years, with regulation and everything else. We're trying to tell those stories. So we're on ETH, and we do most of our stuff through Nifty Gateway and Maker's Place. But technically, we're trying to keep the story of crypto alive, and those new entrants to the space who kind of are coming in at different times and like have missed a huge chunk of what happened. Hopefully, they'll find some of this work and dig deeper and learn the history. In this space, it is so like it's new. Like think of the internet now and gaming. Like gaming's came up on 50 years almost. The internet now is like 30 plus years old. Like Bitcoin, no one knew what Bitcoin was for like before a decade ago, and that was very few people. No one knew what Ethereum was before like 3 years ago. So this is still right new to everybody. Like we are literally like 1993, 94 on the internet. So when we get to like the 2010 era and like Facebook booming, like think of how crazy that's going to be now. We've seen like we thought that was chaotic. That was just because we were here when no one was here, and then like hundreds of thousands of people came and left. What about when like tens of millions come and they're here by the day and they stay? And when that happens, like this all change. And like I'm just one for like I love animated shit. I don't really buy many still things. I love animations. That's kind of what draws me to art mostly. And so when we go to dynamic NFTs and like all the stuff we've got today is like still and not attached to oracles and doesn't change like split second according to like weather or prices or whatever. Like this is like the golden age of like static NFTs that don't move and do much. When we get into the next phase, when things are dynamic and tied in with information and like and price points and shit like that, like that's a whole new fucking game. And that's going to technically make what we're doing now pretty boring in my eyes. Those are the grails, and it's going to be a golden age. So they're going to retain value from their date stamped and like the mint date and stuff like that. But they're going to look very basic compared to what's going to come. And I'm very excited, especially for wearables that are dynamic. So if you're walking around DCL and you set on a certain property, your shirt will completely change because you stepped on that piece of land. Then you go like to another property, your shirt and pants might completely change as well, and things like that. So that's going to make it like a lot more fun, and you're going to be able just to do way more things. But again, those marketplaces don't exist. The walls to hold those assets don't exist yet. So that's like another whole phase is going to take years to become normalized and like accessible to everybody for cheap. But when that comes, like that's going to introduce tons of new people. And then the people who are getting bored will be rejuvenated by this other phase. So I'm very excited for that. So if anything else happens in NFTs, like AI is kind of drawing a lot of attention away from the space. I think when those people get bored with AI and the next thing, and this becomes extremely exciting again, I'm sure it'll draw a lot of them back. Whether we want them all back, I don't think so. But the ones who the ones who left because they needed to like have their day job and pay their bills, but they didn't really want to leave, so they really want to be here, but they can't be right now. When they can be here again, and it's more exciting, I welcome them back, and I hope they do great things.
I think right now a lot of the focus shifted from crypto and blockchain, which was the next hot thing, and all the money, attention, and focus went to AI. So it's time for the VCs to, like, I don't know, flip overpriced, overvalued AI projects and start funding that fucking bubble. But the people that are left here are more or less the same people that were here before this whole NFT mania. Do you think the market right now on Ethereum is like a healthy market, or is it sustainable the way it is? The incentives are completely misaligned, and only scammers and grifters are glorified and actually not only get money but also attention. Do you think this will change? Do you think that, like, the all these free thinkers and critical people that helped create this space identify with that? And where do you think this is going to lead?
I definitely think this market is healthy. You don't see like 900 projects dropping every day with derivatives and stupid shit and selling out constantly for no reason. So that's very healthy. Some people, unfortunately, like got burned too bad, whether they got hacked, whether they ran out of like runway for their company and just had to leave like for financial reasons. That is really unfortunate. The shittiest part about this time, like it's good for builders because there's no affluent parties. There's not tons of like money and people like going to conferences and doing stupid shit. Everyone's just a heads down building, and they're like building like like they're spending more time building because they have less money to do other shit. In a lot of cases, so it is good. But right now, like before, anyone got any money for any idea. Now people have great ideas, and the spigots have been shut off. So when you go and try and get money for an awesome project that we would all love and should be built, now they're like, no, sorry, we're not giving money to like Web3 right now. And so that's a negative because before anyone with any idea, even if it was idiotic, would get like tons and millions of dollars just because Web3 was a hot topic. And now there's not. Money is dried up. There's still a lot of great ideas, and those ideas can't come to fruition because there's no money to build them. You can't pay a dev with like magic beans. And so unless a dev.
Yeah, but like, no, I think it's better. Ethereum is the ultimate tool to raise money, and it's like the best way to raise money without like idiotic obligations to
100%. Yeah,
fucking
ETH is
vampires.
still the best tool to raise funds on. And I think now like there's a lot more scrutiny. You couldn't have an ICO, you couldn't have an IEO. And so a lot of it is better, but I know the US government.
Well, in the
Well, the
US,
US
in the
government
rest of the
though
world, you
is trying to make
yeah.
it though, because a accredited investor in the US is $250,000 as a yearly income, and they're trying to raise that. So they're trying to make it like they're trying to say, oh, if you don't have a $250,000, you're not like smart enough and you're not rich enough to sustain a massive hit by making a stupid decision investing. So you can't. So most people like myself and thousands of others, we kind of got this space and are able to do stuff now because we got in early to great projects at a very good price. Now that would be illegal, and you're not allowed to do that by law. And so you're weeding out a whole portion of people who are the builders of the space, who are young, who are like the new entrepreneur sector. And all of them, they can't fucking invest in this legally. So only like the rich already can invest in this if they take a hit. Supposedly they can sustain it and keep investing. So who gives a shit? Where if you take a hit, you're going to call your senator crying, saying you lost your fucking house and your car, and now you're broke. You know what I mean? Shit like that. So they're like, we don't want to deal with you. You're too much of a risk for us. You know what I mean? So, but then you're like, well, wait a minute. So only the rich can get richer, and no one else can fucking invest in anything. So that's trying what they're trying to do, and that's removed like anything else. But Ethereum for DeFi, for collectibles, for like gaming, for like even like government voting and deeds and death certificates and stuff. Ethereum is like by far the dominant factor, and it's only like I find it funny that people are like fuck Ethereum, fuck NFTs, and Bitcoin comes out with them, and then it blows up. Like I don't know who it is buying them, but there has to be some of those maxis that are secretly doing that because they actually like them. It's just they're on Bitcoin. So you don't hate NFTs, you hate Ethereum NFTs, and you hate Ethereum because you're a maxi because you don't have an open mind. And so that's what I find a little bit weird. I would never be a maxi in anything. I'm waiting for the next thing, like quantum computing is very exciting to me. So quantum computing, when that becomes like a big deal and like for the average person to start like looking into and playing with, like I definitely want to dabble in quantum computing because that's going to change tons of shit too.
Yeah, man. Exciting times ahead of us. I think the next 5 years in general will be very interesting because, like, the amount of smart applications that will be designed around AI that will be helping also in our daily lives will revolutionize a lot of things. Suddenly, we will need like a ton less hardware to do more accurate things. It will be very, very interesting and see where that boom goes. And then, as you say, with quantum computing and other leaps in technology, I think there's a lot to see unfolding there, not just crypto and NFTs.
Totally. I don't know if you read, but like 6 months ago, Moore's law was like Roger Moore, I think his name was. Roger Moore was like
Hmm.
from Intel, and I think in 1964 he coined Moore's law. So every 18 months, a computer chip that you made today, like in that 18 months, like you'll know more information. So that chip you have now will be able to make a chip twice as fast as it will every 18 months, and that was happening from 1964 until 2022. And now they take us down to 13 months. So Moore's law, they thought would go on for good. They didn't think you could make that 18 months shorter than that, like ever. That was like the law. It was called Moore's law. And so now that it's gone to
Hmm.
13 months, you're like, well, what the fuck? I think eventually we'll be able to get it down to like 2 months. So if you think like an iPhone now, it's launching every like 2 years, that new chipset allows you to do more stuff. The camera's faster and shit like that. The processing power is better. If they do that every 2 fucking months, that phone that comes out every 2 years would be like light years of difference. So that'd be like going from a
Yeah,
walkie-talkie to a BlackBerry to a fucking iPad. Do you know what I mean like that? That's all in like two
yeah.
years. We've been taking decades to do that. So if Moore's law is broken, you have AI and quantum coming in. Like if we think technology moves at a fast pace now, this is going to look drastically slow in 5 years. Like it'll be moving at like a weekly crazy pace. Where like I know some humans won't be able to literally keep up with it properly.
Innovation not only has skyrocketed, but also the rate that innovation progresses also has exploded. You're absolutely right. I was watching a video and I read a couple of articles about that. It was very interesting. And yeah, I absolutely agree. It's going to be fucking crazy the next years, man. I just hope from my heart that the Ethereum marketplaces and like everything that we love uh, keeps evolving in a relatively good direction and not what is happening right now, which is really demotivating for like a lot of people. I never thought of quitting as much as I have like this month, you know. So I don't know.
Is that right?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
See,
And I'm not a guy that quits.
totally. See, when I feel like that, I try and fill the void with other things, or I try and like, if I've been like, fuck me, I'm like relying on someone else to do something for me. It's now I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to learn that asset or that program and I'm going to try and do it myself. And so I try and do something that maybe will excite me again, or I like do half of crypto and then get into something else that I have a passion doing. I just like collecting a lot of fucking sports cards and like other shit like that. So I do a lot of that again, where I didn't do that for like 5 years because I was so heavily in crypto. And so I do that again, but then I know like I never leave crypto. I still enjoy it. I just don't, because you're right. If you just sit there all day on Twitter reading it, you want to fucking blow your head off. You know what I mean? Like it's like people are bitching. Someone else got happy. Someone else got hacked. Someone else like fucking got a kid today. You know what I mean? Like you're all over the place, like emotionally and shit. And so if you just like be like, fuck that, I
Yeah.
like doing this, so I'm gonna like work on this program for 6 hours today and do some shit. At least you're still contributing to the space, doing something positive, building your own skill set. And then if you can make money off it, then that's even a bonus.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, and that's exactly how I feel. So we will see. We will see how it will go, and yeah, I can only remain positive. You know, that's the best we can do.
Well,
We
there's a lot of
can
people in this
keep
space
building.
that look up to like people like yourself, Loopify, whoever else that like I don't know put positive messages out there once in a while, and you know what I mean. So there's some people that they're having a fucking terrible day, they might have got hacked or like nothing's sold for large and they need money right now, and then they read some, you know, what I mean, like fuck man, I'm done with this space, and they might read some like one of your comments being like just fucking keep going, man. Like I mean, it's been a long haul for me too, but I'm still here. It might like that. Those couple fucking typed letters might be all they need to be like, no, fucking, he's right, man. Like, just stay. And so anyone you can talk into staying here who deserves to be here, that's a good thing, man.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this was fun, man. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I was looking forward for this interview. I wanted to invite you to the show for a long time, but I forget. I we go for the conferences, so I'm very happy that you came. And we do these interviews, and it's like a sort of like a we are documenting like yourself at that place and time. And then I would love to invite you again in the future, catch up with you again, see what occupies your mind in the future,
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy
creating
to come
that
back.
record of people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, just let me know whenever you're ready.
Fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming in. It was amazing and very insightful to talk with you. Absolute OG, man. You have been through everything.
Yeah, yeah. I have some grays to show for it, man. But I'm very happy to still
Yeah.
be here. I've had a lot of zeros come and go, but the space is like so new, man, that I can't imagine like
Mhm.
anything remotely exciting me as much as the space does. So I'm not going anywhere. So hopefully I'll talk to you again sometime in the future.
Fantastic. Also, one last thing. You mentioned that you were in chat with Zach Super Air.
100%.
Yeah, so if you can, like, I already invited him to the show on Twitter, and he said he would love to come. So if you can please nudge him our way, it would be massively appreciated.
I sure would. I know he's a new dad, so I know his time is tight right now. But
Hmm.
I'll definitely see what I can do as far as letting him know to check his ship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know it's very busy, but like we can plan it for the future. I would really love to have him on the show because I was one of the people that were a bit critical of Super Rare early on, and I was totally wrong. And I would like to tell him.
Nice. Well, that's good of you to do that, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it would be awesome. Yeah, again, thank you so much for coming, Steve, and thank you so much for being part of the space and sharing with us your story and everything.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody, for listening. Thank you all for being here and listening to the conversation. If you like what we do, check our Gazette. We have an incredible art cover this week that is, in my opinion, a masterpiece. And we have a curated exhibition going on by Tuli, the moderator of CryptoPunks, and it's called Pair. It's all about art that is dedicated to cats, and it's all with amazing artists. So feel free to check it out, and if you like what you listen and our effort, give us a follow and check out our content. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.